Here's a mobility pliability routine I like to do for my hamstrings, my ankles, my knees, my hips. I like this. This is called a dynamic hurdle stretch. Um, I like this because there's a lot of movement involved. It gets rotational movement in the low back and the spine. Also allows me to stretch my knee, my hamstring. Here, this is something that you would need to work yourself up to. Basically, I'll hold this for maybe 10 or 20 seconds. Obviously, we're stretching our quads, our knees, our ankles, kind of all those lower bits. After this, I go into a glute bridge. Well, not a glute bridge, it's more of a seated glute bridge where I'll move up from this position, squeezing the glutes at top, going back down. Again, this is a really good way to open your hips. Also to get everything activated, ready for whatever type of training you're going to be doing that day. I like to utilize the pull a lot. I have pretty tight hips, so it allows me to get into the best position I can and really focus on keeping my chest upright. I use my elbows to push my knees out as well to get some additional stretch. After I stay here for a little bit, I'll start rotating back and forth. I'm a big believer in dynamic stretching, moving. You know, in life we move, nothing's static. So I'll start to stretch out my ankles a little bit more, and by moving back and forth. All of it's connected, you know, tight knees, tight hamstrings, all that's connected to the back. So oftentimes if we don't have mobility or pliability, flexibility in one area, it's gonna come out in a different area. It just depends where. You're into a Cossack squat or a Cossack stretch, I would say. Again, I'm using the pole. Gets me into a better position. I'm using my arm to push down on my knee, to force my knee in front of my foot to get some more ankle stretch in there. I'll rotate that back and forth. Also, while I'm doing this, I'm also getting a little stretch in my lat, which is nice. This is why I will put one hand a little bit higher, kind of move that around a little bit. I like to get a lot of bang for my buck, if you will. If I'm doing one thing, I'm gonna try to get some other areas ready to go as well. As we age, it's super, really important in my opinion to really maintain range. And I think this is really how we can avoid any type of injury, but also to stay functional as long as possible. Just some more knee stuff, dynamic stuff. One of the all-time great stretches, the old groiner. I like to floss my hip out and use my arm, you know, push out my hip a little bit more. Just feeling for any tight bits, anything like that. Like I said, I'm a big believer in static stuff. I mean, not in static, excuse me, dynamic stuff, moving into the stretch. After I'm done with some of these, there's another great one. I love this one a lot, the old bootstrapper. So really here, I'm trying to focus on keeping my shoulders where they're at and just raising my hips. Sometimes I'll shift back and forth. If I shift back and forth, leaning to one side or the other, I'll focus more on that one hamstring, along with some floor touches. From there into some Kang squats, but in the Kang squats, I've added a behind the neck press. Again, more mobility stuff, keep that range of motion as I age, which is very important, especially the shoulders. The shoulders, you really have to fight to keep that range in. So I'll do this for about 10 reps. On my 10th one, I'll stay in the bottom and use the barbell to push me down a little bit more. But also I'll kind of rock back and forth to get more of a stretch in my low back, warm up the muscles in the low back as well. So here I am. So I'll rotate back and forth, more rotational, but also hip stretch at the same time. So this is pretty much, you know, I like to do this daily. You know, time's trying to turn us into the Tin Man. So we got to do what we need to do to prevent that best we can. And this is it.